The morning sun cast long shadows across the frontier station as Captain Taemin checked his scanner for the third time. The device showed the same readings as before. Empty corridors, silent modules, nothing unusual, but his instincts told him something was wrong. "Captain, over here," called Hyuk from near the storage units. The young tracker knelt beside a metal walkway, his antenna twitching with concern. Taemin moved quickly to his position. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the station floor. When he reached Hyuk, he saw what had caught the tracker's attention. Prints, small ones, pressed into the thin layer of dust that covered everything on this abandoned section of the station. "What species?" Taemin asked, though his chest already felt tight with worry. Hyuk ran his scanner over the marks. His face changed color, shifting from the normal blue to a pale gray. "Sir, these match the forbidden database." Classification: primate. Origin: Earth. Category: extreme danger. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Every member of the patrol stopped moving. They all knew what this meant. A human. Here, in their sector. Lieutenant Bora was the first to speak. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "A human? That's impossible. They're banned from this entire region. The treaties mean nothing if someone breaks them," Taemin interrupted. He studied the prints more carefully. They were tiny, much smaller than any adult human foot should be. His mind raced through the possibilities, and each one made his blood run colder. "These are cub prints," he said slowly. "A young one." The implications hit the team like a physical blow. If there was a cub, there had to be a parent nearby, and adult humans were the thing of nightmares. The Empire's military academy showed videos of human combat capabilities during training. Taemin had watched those videos. He had seen what a single human soldier could do to a fully armored squadron. The images still haunted his dreams sometimes. "We need to call for backup," Bora said, reaching for her communicator. "Military protocol requires—" "Wait." Taemin held up one hand. He was looking at the trail of prints. They didn't scatter in multiple directions like he would expect from a hunting pattern. Instead, they followed a straight line, a purposeful path, and they led directly to Habitat Module 7. Hyuk followed his gaze. "Should we evacuate the station?" Taemin considered this. Standard protocol said yes. Alert Central Command, pull back to a safe distance, wait for heavy weapons and tactical support. But something didn't fit the pattern. These prints were days old, maybe a week. If a dangerous predator had been living here that long, there would be signs. Damaged equipment, missing supplies, bodies. There was nothing like that, just small footprints and silence. "Daehyun, scan the module." Taemin ordered the team's technical specialist. Daehyun pointed his advanced scanner at the habitat. The device hummed softly as it penetrated the walls and read what was inside. After a moment, his eyes widened. "Sir, I'm reading 2 life forms. One large, one small, both human signatures. They're in the main living area." "What are they doing?" Bora asked nervously. "The small one appears to be sitting, not moving much. The larger one is moving around the food preparation area." Daehyun looked confused. "The heat signature suggests cooking activity." Taemin blinked. "Cooking?" "Yes, sir. There's a heating element active. And I'm detecting, is that bread-based carbohydrates? The smell is coming through the ventilation system." Now that Daehyun mentioned it, Taemin could smell it too. Something sweet, pleasant, completely wrong for this situation. Humans were supposed to smell like danger and blood, not like fresh baking. He made a decision that probably violated a dozen regulations. "I'm going to look." "Captain, no." Bora grabbed his arm. If it wanted to attack, we'd already be dead," Taemin said quietly. "We've been standing here for 10 minutes, making noise. Any predator would have responded by now." He gently removed her hand from his arm. "Besides, the door's sealed. I'll just look through the window port." He didn't wait for more arguments. His legs felt shaky as he approached the habitat module. Every instinct screamed at him to run. Humans were death worlders. They came from a planet so dangerous that most species couldn't survive there for more than a few hours. Their bodies were built for violence. They had binocular vision like hunters. They could sweat, which meant they could chase prey for days without stopping. They could eat almost anything. They healed from injuries that would kill other species. And yet, as he got closer to the door, he smelled more of that sweet scent. It reminded him of the festival foods from his childhood. Warm, comforting, safe. Taemin reached the window. It was small, just large enough to see inside. He took a breath, said a quick prayer to his ancestors, and looked. The habitat's interior was neat, clean, organized, nothing like the chaos he expected. There were plants growing in containers near the window. Real plants, green and healthy. Drawings covered one wall. Simple pictures made with bright colors, stars, ships, smiling faces. And in the kitchen area, he saw her. The human female stood at the cooking station. She had dark hair pulled back in a simple tie. She wore comfortable-looking clothes. Soft pants and a loose shirt. Nothing like battle armor. Her feet were bare. She hummed a melody as she worked, flipping something golden and round in a heated pan. Near her, on the floor, sat the cub. The little human had the same dark hair as the adult. She was holding a colored marking tool and pressing it against a large sheet of paper. Her tongue stuck out slightly as she concentrated on her drawing. It was the most domestic scene Taemin had ever witnessed. The female turned slightly, reaching for something on the counter. That's when she saw him. Their eyes met through the window. Taemin's hand moved automatically to his weapon, but the human didn't snarl. She didn't bare her teeth in threat. She didn't grab the cub and retreat to a defensive position. Instead, she smiled. It was a small smile, gentle and welcoming. She raised one hand and gave a little wave. The gesture was so unexpected, so completely non-threatening, that Taemin's weapon lowered without him consciously deciding to do it. The female said something. He couldn't hear through the door, but he could read her lips. It looked like hello. Behind him, he heard Bora and the others approaching carefully. They had probably expected to find his torn body by now. Instead, they found him staring through a window at a human who was cooking breakfast. Captain? Bora's voice was uncertain. What do we do? Taemin watched as the small cub noticed them. She stood up, toddled over to the window on unsteady legs, and pressed her tiny hands against the glass. She was grinning, showing small white teeth. Not threatening. Just curious. The adult human said something to the cub, then looked back at the window. At Taemin, she pointed to the door and made a gesture that clearly meant, "Would you like to come in?" Every regulation said no. Every safety protocol screamed danger. Every training video showed why this was a terrible idea. But Taemin found his hand moving to the door control anyway. Because sometimes instinct was more important than protocol, and his instinct said that the most dangerous thing in this station wasn't the human. It was his own fear. The door began to open. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Warm air flowed out, carrying smells that made Taemin's stomach react in unexpected ways. Sweet, rich, inviting. His hand stayed near his weapon, but he didn't draw it. The human female stood just inside the doorway. She was shorter than he expected. Most humans in the military videos were huge, towering figures in heavy armor. This one barely reached his shoulder. She held the cooking tool in one hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Not a weapon. Just a tool. "Good morning," she said in his language. Her accent was heavy, turning the words strange but understandable. "You must be from the patrol. I thought someone would come eventually." She stepped back, making space. "Please come in. I'm Hana." Taemin's translator worked overtime on her tone. Casual, friendly, completely inappropriate for a first contact with an apex predator. He stepped inside slowly, his eyes scanning for threats. Behind him, he heard Bora enter as well, her weapon drawn but pointed at the floor. The small human cub abandoned her drawing and came closer. She looked up at them with huge, dark eyes full of curiosity. No fear, just interest. "This is my daughter, Nabi," Hana said, placing a hand on the cub's head. The gesture was protective but gentle. "She's 3 years old. Nabi, say hello to our visitors." The tiny human raised one hand and waved it back and forth. "Hi," she chirped in a high voice. "You have funny heads." Taemin nearly stumbled. A human cub had just called his anatomy funny. He didn't know whether to be offended or terrified. Bora made a choking sound behind him. Hana laughed. It was a light sound, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. She's never met your species before. We just moved here last week and we haven't had many visitors yet." She returned to the cooking station. "I hope you don't mind that I'm finishing breakfast. Would you like some? I always make extra." "You're offering us food," Bora said. It wasn't a question. More like she was trying to confirm reality. "Of course," Hana replied, as if this was obvious. "You came all the way out here. You must be hungry." Taemin watched her work. She moved with easy confidence. flipping the golden circles onto plates. Her movements were efficient but not aggressive. Nothing like combat training. This was different. Domestic. "We need to see your authorization papers," he said, trying to maintain some sense of procedure. "Humans aren't permitted in this sector without special clearance." "Oh. Yes, sorry." Hana wiped her hands on a cloth and moved to a small desk. She pulled out a datapad and handed it to him. "Everything should be in order. I filed through the Frontier Homesteading Program." The clerk said it would take a while to process through all the channels. Taman scanned the documents. His eyes widened. They were legitimate, properly filed, approved by 3 different departments. Dated 6 months ago, the bureaucracy had simply failed to inform the military patrol that a human family would be moving into their sector. "You're a homesteader," he said slowly. "That's right." Hana smiled. "I wanted somewhere quiet to raise Nabi, away from the crowded core worlds. This station had available space and good light for growing plants." She gestured to the containers by the window. "I'm starting a garden." Bora moved closer to examine the plants. "These are earth species. Yes, tomatoes, basil, some flowers. They adapt well to station life." Hana returned to the cooking area. "I'm teaching Nabi about growing things. I think it's important for children to understand where food comes from." The cub had lost interest in the adults and returned to her drawing. She hummed while she worked, pressing colored tools against the paper with intense concentration. Taman felt his entire worldview shifting. This wasn't supposed to be possible. Humans were warriors, conquerors, dangerous. Yet here was one, growing herbs and teaching a cub about vegetables. It didn't match any profile in his training. "Why here?" he asked. "Why not stay on Earth? Or one of the human colonies?" Something flickered across Hana's face. Sadness, maybe, or memory. "I wanted a fresh start. Somewhere peaceful." She placed the golden circles on plates. "And I like the idea of frontier life. Building something. Making a home." She carried 2 plates to a small table and set them down. Then she looked at Taimin and Bora expectantly. "Please sit. The pancakes are better when they're hot." "Pancakes?" Bora asked. "A traditional human food, made from grain flour, eggs, and milk. Very simple. Very old." Hana poured liquid from a container onto the pancakes. It was thick and golden. "This is honey. It makes them sweet." Taman knew he should refuse. This was irregular, unprofessional, possibly dangerous, but his curiosity was stronger than his training. He sat. Bora hesitated, then joined him. Hana gave them each a utensil. "Forks. You cut the pancake and eat it in pieces." He followed her example. Cut a small piece. Lifted it carefully. The smell was incredible, sweet and rich and warm. He put it in his mouth. The taste exploded across his tongue. Sweet, soft, buttery, unlike anything in military rations. His eyes closed involuntarily. "Good?" Hana asked. "Very good," he admitted. Bora was already eating her second bite. "What did you say these were called?" "Pancakes. My mother taught me how to make them when I was Nabi's age." Hana sat down with her own plate. Food is important in human culture. We share meals to build connections, to show friendship. Nabi climbed onto a chair next to her mother. "I want pancakes too." "You already had yours, little one," Hana said gently. "These are for our guests, but I'm still hungry." Hana sighed in the way all parents did. "Fine, one more. But that's all." She cut a small piece and gave it to the cub. Nabi stuffed it into her mouth with both hands, getting honey on her face and fingers. Hana wiped the mess away with patient movements. Taman watched this interaction carefully. This was how humans raised their young, with food and gentleness and patience. Not so different from his own people, really. The thought was unsettling. "How long do you plan to stay here?" Bora asked between bites. "Permanently, if possible." Hana replied. "I've paid for a 5-year contract on this module. After that, I can renew or move to a bigger space if I need it." She glanced at Nabi. "I want her to have stability. A real home. And you're not concerned about being alone out here, far from other humans?" Hana's expression became thoughtful. "I like quiet. And I'm not completely alone. There are other settlers on the station. Just not many in this section yet," she smiled. "Besides, now I have neighbors. You and your patrol team." The word neighbors hit Taman strangely. In all his years of service, he'd never thought of humans as potential neighbors. They were threats to monitor, dangers to avoid, not people who lived next door and shared pancakes. "We should probably inform our commander." Bora said quietly to him. Already done? Daehyun's voice came through their communicators. She's reviewing the homesteading documents now. She says to continue observation and file a detailed report. Hana heard the transmission and looked curious. Is there a problem? I can show you more paperwork if you need it. I have my medical clearance, species integration certification, childcare provisions. No, it's fine, Taemin assured her. We just need to follow procedure. There will be more questions later, probably. Official things. I understand. She stood and collected the empty plates. Would you like more? I have plenty of batter left. Despite everything, Taemin found himself nodding. Yes, please. As Hana returned to cooking, Nabi approached their table. She was carrying her drawing. Look, I made this. She held up the paper. It showed a rough image of what might be a spaceship, or possibly a very square bird. The colors were bright and mixed without much concern for realism. It's very nice, Bora said carefully. It's you, Nabi announced proudly. You're flying in space. Zoom, zoom. She made swooshing sounds and moved the paper through the air. Taemin realized the drawing was supposed to be their patrol ship. The little human had watched them arrive and decided to make art about it. He felt something warm and strange in his chest. Thank you, Nabi, he said softly. That's a very good drawing, the cub beamed at him. Then she ran back to her spot on the floor and started making another picture. Hana returned with more pancakes. As she set them down, she said quietly, Thank you for being kind to her. I know my species has a bad reputation, but we're not all soldiers and fighters. Some of us just want to live peacefully. Taemin looked at this human female, this mother, this neighbor, and he realized that everything he'd learned in training was incomplete. Yes, humans could be dangerous, but they could also be this. Gentle, domestic, kind. Maybe that made them even more remarkable. He picked up his fork and took another bite of pancake. Outside, he knew his team was probably confused and worried. Command would have questions. There would be reports and investigations and complications, but right now in this moment he was simply sharing breakfast with a neighbor. And somehow, that felt like the most important thing in the galaxy. Commander Isul read the report for the 4th time. Each time it made less sense than before. She set the datapad down and looked at Captain Taemin, who stood at attention in her office. Let me make sure I understand, she said slowly. You found a human, living in Habitat Module 7, and instead of calling for immediate military support, you went inside and ate breakfast with her. Yes, Commander. Pancakes. Yes, Commander. They were very good. Isul rubbed her temples. She had been in military service for 30 years. She had fought in 3 border conflicts. She had negotiated peace treaties with hostile species, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for this situation. The human's paperwork is legitimate? She asked completely. Filed 6 months ago through proper channels, approved by the Frontier Homesteading Bureau, the Species Integration Office, and the Colonial Settlement Division. Taemin's voice was steady. It appears the notification simply failed to reach our military command structure. Bureaucratic error. Yes, Commander. Isolde stood and walked to her window. The frontier station stretched out below her, a collection of modules and corridors housing various species. It was meant to be a peaceful place, a trading post, a rest stop for travelers. The last thing it needed was a human presence causing panic. How dangerous would you assess this individual to be? She asked. Taemin considered carefully. Based on observed behavior, minimal immediate threat. She appears focused on domestic activities and child rearing. However, she is still human. Physical capabilities remain consistent with species norms, which means she could tear through a bulkhead if she wanted to. Theoretically, yes. Isolde turned back to face him. And the cub? 3 years old. No signs of aggressive behavior, friendly, very curious. She draws pictures. Pictures. Of spaceships, Commander. This was absurd. Completely absurd. Isolde returned to her desk and pulled up the military database on humans. The information was extensive and terrifying. Bone density capable of withstanding massive impacts. Muscle structure designed for endurance and explosive power. Problem-solving abilities at genius level. Pack-bonding instincts that made them fiercely protective. They came from a death world where everything was trying to kill them. And they had not only survived but thrived. And one of them was now living on her station, making pancakes. I'm authorizing 48 hours of observation, she decided. Around-the-clock surveillance. I want to know everything this human does. Where she goes, who she talks to, what she eats, how she spends her time, everything. Yes, Commander. And Taemin, if she shows any signs of aggression or threat behavior, you pull back immediately and call for heavy tactical support. Understood? Understood, Commander. After he left, Isul sat alone in her office, staring at the report. A human, here, she should be terrified. She should be evacuating the station. But something about Taemin's description didn't match the threat assessments. A mother teaching her child to grow plants and draw pictures, offering food to strangers, living peacefully. Maybe humans were more complicated than the military databases suggested. She made a note to contact Central Command after the observation period ended. This was going to require higher-level decisions. The next 2 days were strange for everyone involved. Taemin's patrol set up a discreet observation post near Habitat Module 7. They rotated in shifts, monitoring and recording everything. What they saw was remarkably ordinary. Hana woke early each morning. She did exercises, strange human movements that stretched and strengthened her body. The team's medical officer noted that her physical conditioning was excellent. Military grade, possibly, but she used it only for fitness, not combat. After exercising, she would prepare breakfast. Always something different. Sometimes the pancakes, sometimes bread with spreads, sometimes warm grain porridge. She and Nabi would eat together, talking about simple things. What they would do that day, what stories they would read, what games they would play. Then came education time. Hana taught her daughter using a structured program. Mathematics, language, science, history. The little human absorbed information like a sponge, asking constant questions. Why is the sky black in space? How do engines work? What sound do your people make when they laugh? Hana answered every question with patience and detail. She used simple words and practical examples. She made learning into games. The observation team found themselves listening in, fascinated despite themselves. In the afternoons, Hana worked on her garden. She had expanded it since their first visit. More containers, more varieties of plants. She explained to Nabi how roots worked, how water fed growth, how leaves captured light. The cub helped, her small hands patting soil around seeds with serious concentration. Growing food is important, Hana told her daughter. It connects us to the earth. Even when we're far from Earth itself, we can carry this connection with us. Daehyun, monitoring from the observation post, made a note about this. The human maintained cultural practices even in isolation. It suggested strong identity awareness and emotional stability. On the second day, a station supply malfunction meant the patrol's rations didn't arrive. They had emergency provisions, but those were bland and unsatisfying. Taemin was preparing to request priority delivery when his door chimed. He opened it to find Hana standing there, holding a large covered container. I heard about the supply problem, she said simply. The station broadcast mentioned it. I thought you might be hungry, so I made stew. She held out the container. The smell wafting from it was incredible, rich, savory, complex. You didn't have to do this, Taemin said, surprised. I know, but you're my neighbors. Neighbors help each other. She smiled. Besides, I enjoy cooking for people. It's satisfying. She left before he could respond further. The team gathered around as Taemin opened the container. Inside was a thick stew filled with vegetables, protein chunks, and herbs. They ate it carefully at first, suspicious, but within minutes they were all eating with enthusiasm. This is better than any military ration I've ever had, Bora admitted. What is this flavor? Rosemary, I think, Hyuk said. And thyme. Earth herbs. They finished the entire container. That evening, Taemin filed an updated report noting the human's tendency toward community-oriented behavior and resource sharing. Commander Isul read it with growing bewilderment. On the third day, she decided to visit Habitat Module 7 herself. She needed to see this human personally, make her own assessment. Taemin met her outside the module. She's expecting you, Commander. I informed her you'd be coming. How did she react? She said she was pleased to meet you and asked if you had any dietary restrictions. Isol's antenna twitched. Dietary restrictions? She's planning to serve tea and baked goods. Of course she was. The door opened before Isul could knock. Hana stood there, smiling warmly. Commander Isul, please come in. Thank you for taking time to visit. Isul entered, her eyes scanning everything with practiced efficiency. The habitat was clean and organized, child-safe, decorated with simple but pleasant items. Pictures on walls, soft fabrics, growing plants everywhere. It looked like a home. Nabi was playing in a corner with small building blocks. She looked up when Isul entered, waved, then returned to her construction project. "Please sit." Hana gestured to the small table. It was already set with cups and a plate of small baked items. "I made cookies. They're a sweet treat. Human children love them." Isul sat cautiously. "You're very accommodating." "I want to be a good neighbor," Hana replied, pouring hot liquid into the cups. "I know my presence here is unusual, probably concerning for you and your team. I want to show that I'm not a threat." "You're human. By definition, you're a threat." Hana's smile became sad. "I know what the galaxy thinks of my species. I've seen the fear, the warnings, the classifications." She set down the pouring vessel. "Most of it is earned, I won't deny that. Humans have done terrible things. We're capable of great violence, but we're also capable of great gentleness, love, creativity, compassion." She looked at Nabi. "I want my daughter to grow up knowing both sides of her heritage, the strength and the kindness." Isul picked up one of the cookies. It was still warm. She took a small bite. The taste was sweet, with hints of something rich and complex. "What's in these?" "Chocolate chips, made from cacao seeds. An earth plant." Hana sipped her tea. "Commander, I understand you need to monitor me. Make sure I'm not dangerous. I accept that. I'll cooperate with whatever requirements you have." "Why did you really come here?" Isul asked directly. "The frontier is harsh, isolated. Why not stay in human space?" Hana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "I was in the service. Colonial Marines. I served for 15 years. I saw combat. Too much combat." She turned her cup slowly in her hands. "When my husband died in action, I decided Nabi needed something different. Not war, not conflict. Just peace, growth, a chance to be a child. So you came to the edge of nowhere. I came to a place where I could start fresh, where Nabi could play and learn and grow without the weight of military expectations." Hana smiled. "And maybe where I could remember how to be just a person, not a soldier." Isul studied this human carefully. She saw the truth in her words. But she also saw something else. The way Hana moved had military precision. The way her eyes tracked movement. The way she positioned herself between Isul and her daughter without seeming to. This was the alarm started at 0600 station time. Taemin was drinking his morning tea when the emergency broadcast cut through every speaker on the station. "Alert, alert, unknown vessels approaching, all personnel to defensive positions. This is not a drill." He dropped his cup and ran for the command center. Around him, other crew members were doing the same, their faces showing panic and confusion. The station hadn't seen hostile action in 5 years. They were too remote, too small to be worth attacking, or so they thought. Commander Isul was already at the tactical display when Taemin arrived. Her face was grim. "3 ships. Krix raiders. They dropped out of slipspace 7 minutes ago and are heading directly for us." Taemin felt his blood go cold. Krix raiders were bad news. They were pirates, slavers, and worse. They targeted weak positions, took what they wanted, and left wreckage behind. "Do we have enough firepower to fight them?" Bora asked. "No," Isul's answer was flat. "We have 2 defensive turrets and a patrol ship with light weapons. They have 3 warships with full combat capabilities. If they want this station, they'll take it. Can we evacuate?" "Not fast enough. We'd lose half the population before the transports cleared the dock." The tactical display showed the raider ships growing closer. Taemin's mind raced through options. There weren't many. They could try to negotiate, but Krix weren't known for mercy. They could fight and probably die. Or they could surrender and hope the raiders would be satisfied with stealing supplies instead of taking lives. None of these options were good. "Sir, incoming transmission from the lead raider ship," the communications officer reported. "Put it through." The screen flickered, showing a Krix commander. His scales were dark green, marked with battle scars. His eyes were cruel and calculating. "Frontier Station, you will surrender all valuable cargo and supplies. You will also provide us with 20 workers for labor contracts. If you comply, we will leave without harming your civilian population. You have 10 minutes to decide." The transmission cut off. "Labor contracts," Bora said bitterly. He means slaves. Isul's hands were shaking with suppressed rage. We can't fight them. We don't have the strength. Taemin was about to respond when the door to the command center burst open. Hana stood there breathing hard like she'd been running. Nabi was in her arms looking scared and confused. What's happening? Hana demanded. I heard the alarms. Raiders, Isul said shortly. 3 ships. We're being attacked. Hana's expression changed instantly. The friendly neighbor vanished. In her place was something cold and sharp. Her eyes moved to the tactical display, scanning the information with practiced speed. Krix-class warships, modified for boarding actions. Crew complement probably 30 each. She said this like she was reading a technical manual. Their strategy will be to threaten and intimidate. If that fails, they'll board and take what they want by force. Everyone stared at her. How do you know that? Taemin asked. Because I've fought them before. Hana set Nabi down gently and knelt to look her daughter in the eyes. Baby, I need you to be very brave right now. Can you do that for Mama? Nabi nodded, her little face serious. Hana turned to Bora. Take her. Keep her safe in the secure shelter. Don't let her out until this is over. What are you going to do? Bora asked. Hana stood up. The change in her posture was dramatic. She stood straighter, taller. Her whole presence became different, more dangerous, what I was trained for. She moved to a storage locker and began pulling out items. A pressure suit. Sealed but flexible, designed for combat in vacuum if necessary. As she sealed herself into it, she spoke quickly. Commander, I need access to your weapons locker and your maintenance airlock. I also need one person who knows the station's external structure. Why? Isul asked. Because you can't fight them with conventional tactics. But I can. Hana's voice was absolutely certain. Before homesteading, I spent 15 years in the Colonial Marines. I served in the Outer Rim conflicts. I specialized in ship-to-ship combat and hostile boarding actions. You're one person, Taemin protested. They have 3 ships and 90 crew members. Hana looked at him, and for the first time he saw the predator everyone feared. Her eyes were cold, focused, deadly. Captain, you've been eating meals at a predator's table for 3 days. You've been monitoring me while I played house with my daughter. But you forgot something important about humans. She sealed the last part of her suit. We're not dangerous because we're mean. We're dangerous because we're efficient. And right now these raiders made a mistake. They threatened my child. She walked toward the door. Taemin grabbed her arm without thinking. You can't do this alone. It's suicide. Hana gently removed his hand. I appreciate your concern, but this is what I'm good at. What I was designed for. She glanced back at where Bora was holding Nabi. I gave up war to be a mother, but I never forgot how to fight. And right now my daughter needs me to remember. Commander Isul made a decision. Hyuk, go with her. Show her whatever she needs. Weapons locker access code is 77 Alpha 3. Commander, Taemin started. If she wants to try, we let her try. We don't have better options. Isul's voice was hard. And frankly, I want to see what a human can actually do when pushed. Hana nodded once. Thank you. Keep everyone away from the outer corridors. Stay in the secure sections. This won't take long. She left with Hyuk hurrying after her. Taemin moved to follow, but Isul stopped him. Let her work. Watch the sensors, learn. The weapons locker was standard military issue. Hana scanned the contents with a professional eye. She selected items quickly. A plasma cutter. Breaching charges. A close-range pulse weapon. Magnetic clamps. A length of high-tensile cable. Hyuk watched her work. What's your plan? Simple. The raiders think they're dealing with soft targets, merchants and civilians. They'll be arrogant, careless. Hana checked the charge on the pulse weapon. I'm going to use their arrogance against them. How? By going where they don't expect anyone to go. She smiled, but it wasn't the warm smile Hyuk had seen before. This smile was dangerous. I'm going outside. 15 minutes later, Hana stood in the maintenance airlock. Her suit was sealed, her weapons secured to magnetic hardpoints. Hyuk was guiding her through the station's external structure via communicator. The main docking arms extend from the central hub. He explained. The raiders will dock there. They'll force entry through the cargo bays. Perfect. That's where I'll hit them. Hana checked her equipment one final time. Once I'm outside, seal the airlock. Don't open it again until I knock. What if you don't come back? Then you'll know I failed. But at least I slowed them down. She paused. If that happens, take care of Nabi. Tell her Mama loved her very much. Before Hyuk could respond, she cycled the airlock and stepped out into space. The vacuum was absolute, silent, cold. Hana activated her magnetic boots and began walking along the station's hull. In the distance, she could see the 3 raider ships approaching. They were big, ugly, built for function, not beauty. She moved toward the docking arms, her movements practiced and sure. This was familiar territory. She'd done hull walks 100 times during her service. Zero gravity was her friend. Vacuum was her ally. The first raider ship began docking procedures. Hana watched from her position, hidden in the shadow of a sensor array. She could see the ship's hull through her helmet display, see the boarding ramp extending, see the hatches preparing to open. She moved quickly using magnetic clamps to anchor herself. She attached breaching charges to specific points on the raider ship's hull. Weak points, structural vulnerabilities, places where a small explosion would cause maximum damage without destroying the ship entirely. She wasn't trying to kill everyone. Just disable them. The raiders began boarding the station. Hana could hear their communications through the standard emergency channel. They were laughing, joking, so confident. She finished placing her charges and moved to the second ship. Same procedure, quick, efficient, precise. The third ship was the command vessel. That one she treated differently. Instead of charges, she used the plasma cutter to slice through specific external systems, communications arrays, sensor nodes, maneuvering thrusters. Then she activated the breaching charges. The explosions were small but perfectly placed. The first 2 ships lost hull integrity in their boarding sections. Emergency protocols activated automatically, sealing compartments and trapping the raiders between their ships and the station. Hana moved to the station's docking arm. Raiders were inside now, trying to breach the cargo bay doors. She came up behind them, her pulse weapon ready. "Attention," she broadcast on all channels using her suit's external speaker. "You have violated Frontier Station 7. You have threatened civilians. You have attempted to take slaves." Her voice was cold, mechanical. "These actions are illegal under 7 different trade agreements. I am authorized to use lethal force to stop you." The raiders turned confused. 1 human in a pressure suit. Their leader laughed. "1 person? They send 1 person? I'm all they need." Hana's weapon came up. "You have 10 seconds to return to your ships and leave, or I will make you leave." The raider leader raised his own weapon. "Stupid human. You're outnumbered 20 to 1. Hana's voice was quiet, almost sad. "I was really hoping you'd." Hana returned through the maintenance airlock exactly 23 minutes after she'd left. Her pressure suit had scorch marks and small dents, but she was uninjured. She removed the helmet and took a deep breath of station air. Taemin was waiting there with half his patrol team. They stood in silence, not quite sure what to say to her. "How did you talk to someone who had just done the impossible?" Hana looked at them and smiled tiredly. The cold warrior was gone. The friendly neighbor was back. "Is Nabi okay?" "She's fine," Bora assured her. "Still in the secure shelter with Commander Isul. She's been asking for you." "Good. I need to see her." Hana began unfastening her suit. "Did anyone get hurt? Station personnel, I mean." "No, everyone's fine." Taemin stepped forward. "Thanks to you," Hana shrugged. "I did what needed doing." "Those raiders weren't going to listen to reason." She pulled off the suit's chest piece. "Are they secured?" "Security teams are collecting them now. The ones who can still walk anyway." Hyuk was looking at her with something like awe. "You took down 27 armed raiders by yourself." 28, actually. 1 tried to escape through a maintenance shaft. I had to stop him." Hana's tone was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing grocery shopping. "They'll all recover. I didn't kill anyone. Just made sure they couldn't fight anymore." This casual statement made Taemin's head spin. She'd disabled nearly 30 hostiles without killing a single one. That took incredible skill and control. Military academies taught that level of precision as an advanced technique. She'd done it like breathing. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" he asked. Hana finished removing her suit and stood in her regular clothes. She looked small again. Normal. "Colonial Marines Special Operations. I trained for 6 years before my first deployment. Then I spent 9 years in active combat zones." She stretched her shoulders, working out tension. "I was good at it. Too good, maybe. That's part of why I retired." "What do you mean?" When you're good at violence, people keep asking you to be violent. They give you harder missions, more dangerous situations. Eventually, you forget how to be anything else. She looked at her hands. I didn't want Nabi growing up with a mother who only knew how to fight. So I stopped fighting. Bora spoke up quietly. But you remembered how, when you needed to. Yes, you never really forget. It's like riding a bicycle. Hana saw their confused expressions. That's a human saying. It means some skills stay with you forever, even if you don't use them. Commander Isol's voice came through the communication system. Hana, please report to the command center. Bring Captain Taman. They walked through the corridors together. Other station residents were emerging from their secure shelters looking scared but relieved. When they saw Hana, they reacted with mixed emotions. Some backed away nervously. Others nodded in respect. One elderly trader actually bowed to her. Hana waved at them all with her usual friendly manner. Like she hadn't just fought off raiders. Like this was any normal day. The command center was busy when they arrived. Officers were coordinating with patrol enforcement vessels that were on their way to collect the captured raiders. Isol stood at the main console reviewing damage reports. Minimal structural damage, she said without looking up. No casualties. All raiders secured. She finally turned to face Hana. That was the most efficient military action I've ever witnessed. I'm glad everyone's safe. Hana replied simply. Isol studied her for a long moment. I need to understand something. You had that level of combat ability all along. You could have done anything you wanted, taken anything you wanted. Why choose to live peacefully? Hana was quiet, thinking about her answer. Because violence is easy. Any human can hurt things. We're built for it. Our whole species evolved to be predators. But building something, creating something, raising a child with kindness and patience, that's hard. That takes real strength. She gestured at the tactical display showing the disabled raider ships. I can do this. Fight and win. But it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make the galaxy better. It just leaves wreckage behind. Her expression became softer. But making breakfast for neighbors? Teaching my daughter to grow plants? That creates something good. Something that lasts. Taemin found himself nodding. He understood now. Hana wasn't hiding from her nature. She was choosing a different expression of it. Humans protected. That was their instinct. They could protect through violence like she'd just done, or they could protect through care and community like she did every other day. The report I have to write is going to be interesting, Isul said dryly. How do I explain that a homesteader defeated a raider fleet? You could call it luck, Hana suggested with a slight smile. No one would believe that. Then tell them the truth. That humans can be dangerous when pushed, but we'd rather not be. Hana's voice was serious now. Commander, I know my species has a reputation. Most of it is earned. Humans have done terrible things throughout our history. We've made mistakes, hurt people, destroyed things, but we're also capable of learning, growing, choosing peace over war. Hana looked at each of them. That's what I want to teach Nabi. Yes, she's human. Yes, she has the capacity for violence. But she also has the capacity for love, creativity, kindness, and compassion. I want her to choose those things first. Isol was quiet for a moment. Then she made a decision. I'm recommending to Central Command that your residential status be upgraded to permanent. Furthermore, I'm going to suggest that the Frontier Settlement Program consider accepting more human applicants. Hana blinked in surprise. Really? The frontier is dangerous. We need people who can protect themselves and their communities. But we also need people who want to build something lasting. Isol's antenna twitched in what might have been a smile. You've proven you can do both. And frankly, after today, I feel safer knowing you're here. Thank you, Commander. That means a lot. There will be conditions. Regular check-ins. Continued monitoring. And you'll need to register with station security as a combat-capable resident. I understand. I'll comply with whatever requirements you have, Isul nodded. Good. Now go see your daughter. She's been asking for you every 2 minutes. Hana left quickly, practically running toward the secure shelter. Taemin watched her go, then turned to his commander. This changes everything, doesn't it? He said quietly. Yes, it does. Isul pulled up the communication interface. I need to contact Central Command. They need to know about this. What will you tell them? The truth. That humans are exactly as dangerous as we feared. But that might not be a bad thing. Not if they're on our side. Over the next few days, life slowly returned to normal on the station. The raiders were collected by patrol enforcement. The damaged ships were towed away. Security protocols were updated and Hana went back to her quiet life. Taimin visited her habitat one morning to find her in the garden with Nabi. The little human was carefully watering plants while her mother supervised. Gentle, baby, Hana instructed. Too much water is bad for the roots. Nabi adjusted her pouring, her tongue sticking out in concentration. When she finished, she looked up at her mother for approval. Perfect. You're getting so good at this, the cub beamed with pride. Hana noticed Taimin and waved him over. Captain! Good morning. Would you like some tea? I just made a fresh pot. It was like the raid had never happened, like she hadn't single-handedly defeated 30 enemies 3 days ago. She was just a neighbor offering tea. Thank you, he said, accepting a cup. How are you both doing? We're good. Nabi had some nightmares the first night, but she's better now. Hana sat down at her small table. She's young enough that scary things don't stick with her as much. She'll forget about the raiders in a few weeks. And you? Hana's smile was a bit sad. I won't forget, but I'll be okay. I've dealt with worse. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, drinking tea and watching Nabi play with her toys. It was peaceful, normal, exactly what Hana had come here to find. The station residents are talking about you, Taimin said. Most of them are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. I just did what was necessary to protect my daughter and my home. That's what heroes do. Hana laughed softly. Maybe, but I'd rather be known for my pancakes than my fighting skills. Can't you be known for both? She considered this. I suppose so. If I have to be known for fighting, at least it was fighting to protect people. That's better than the alternative. Bora appeared at the door with a datapad. Sorry to interrupt. Hana, Commander Isil wanted me to inform you that Central Command approved your permanent residential status. You're officially recognized as a frontier settler with full rights and privileges. Hana's face lit up. Really? That's wonderful. There's more. They're asking if you'd be willing to serve as a civilian defense consultant. They want your expertise on security matters. It would be paid work and you could do it on your own schedule. So they want me to teach them how to fight raiders? More like teach them how humans think in combat situations. Strategy, tactics, psychology. Bora handed her the datapad. It's voluntary. No pressure, Hana read through the offer carefully. I could do this from home? Without leaving Nabi? Yes, most of it would be remote consultation. Maybe an occasional trip to the command center? Then yes, I'll do it. If my experience can help keep other stations safe, that's worthwhile.